Hello everyone, Delta here. In this video I'm going to explain how to bring the fuel mechanic to your Fortnite Creative map. As you can see in the left side of my screen, I have 91 out of 99 fuel, and that number is growing since I stopped at the gas station. As you can see, I picked up the gas can. Now I'm going to use the car so that I consume a little bit more fuel. Now, if I get out of the car, I can use the gas can to fuel the car. The only thing I have to do is use any emote. Now, let's say I don't want to use the entire gas can at once. If I get inside the car and drive for a little bit, that timer is going to stay paused until I use another emote. Once the timer reaches 0, the gas can will be consumed. Now, let's say I'm not careful and I use my entire fuel. As you can see, the vehicle respawned and I have to start all over again. Now, before I begin the tutorial, I want to let you all know that I recently published a new map, Car Combat Arena, a red versus blue map. The code is on screen right now and I encourage all of you to play it. The map is really fun and it can be played with up to 6 players. In this map you have to destroy other cars by throwing them into the mines on the ground or in the lava. Now, let's continue with the tutorial. In the first part of the video I'm going to explain how to create the fuel mechanic and the gas station. First, I place the spawn pad and the car. The settings you'll want to change are priority group set to primary, visible during games set to no, and when players spawn, transmit on channel 8. For the vehicle spawner, I changed a couple of settings, but the ones you'll want to pay attention to are the ones related to channels. Assign driver when receiving from channel 8. Destroy vehicle when receiving from channel 7. When player enters vehicle, transmit on channel 3. When player exits vehicle, transmit on channel 2. These are all the settings I chose for the car. Feel free to pause the video to copy them. The next device I used is a tracker device. The tracker is used so that we can see how much fuel we have during the game. The settings I changed are the following: set to track channel, target value set to 99, assign on game start set to no, amount to change on receiving signal, 2, tracker title set to fuel, show progress set to remaining, tracker completion ceremony set to no, increasement progress when receiving from channel 6, decreasement progress when receiving from channel 1, assign when receiving from channel 2, and when complete transmit on channel 7. And here are all the channels. The next device is the mutator zone. Here are the settings I changed. As you can see, when I placed the mutator zone and when I planned my map, I made a little mistake. The mutator zone doesn't cover the whole parking area. The settings are the following: allow weapon fire set to yes, enable when receiving from channel 4, disable when receiving from channel 5, on player entering zone transmit on channel 3, and on player leaving zone transmit on channel 5. Exactly on the parking area, I placed the resized trigger. When building the map, you'll have to be careful that the trigger fits perfectly in the parking area. You just have to find the right dimensions. On to the settings we have: trigger by players set to off, trigger by sequencers set to off, visible in game set to no, and for the trigger sound and trigger visual effects I like to keep one of them on. But that depends on our preferences. The last setting you'll want to change is when triggered, transmit on channel 4. And here are all the settings. For the gas pump, I used the reactive prop found in the Fortilla galleries. You can find it by going to Galleries, Fortilla, and choose Fortilla Prop Gallery and scroll all the way down. As you can see, there are two almost exactly props. You'll want to choose the one with higher memory and a smaller image. As you can see in the background video, the prop is reactive because it catches on fire when you damage it. And another secret feature of this prop is that when I enter a vehicle, you can actually see on the minimap a small icon similar to BR that indicates there's a gas station next to you. Now we are going to use a timed objective used to consume the gas from the car. The setting list is pretty long, so I'm not going to go through all of them, only the ones you want to change. The settings are time set to 1 second, timer label text set to fuel, but you don't have to put that because the player won't see it. Hologram until activated set to no, visible during game set to no, countdown visible on HUD set to no, completion behavior set to restart, urgency mode disabled, pausing team filter all, resuming team filter all, audio effects set to off, activation sound set to off, deactivation sound set to off, timer sound set to off, start when receiving from channel 3, stop when receiving from channel 2, pause when receiving from channel 150, and resume when receiving from channel 149, and when completed transmit on channel 6. As I said, the setting list is pretty long, so I highly encourage you to check all the settings by pausing the video. Now, we will use another timed objective. This one will give us fuel while we wait at the gas station. The settings are pretty similar to the last device. Time 1 second, timer label text fuel, hologram until activated set to no, visible during game set to no, countdown visible on HUD no, completion behavior restart, urgency mode disabled, audio effects off, activation, deactivation, and completion sound set to off, timer sound set to off, start when receiving from channel 4, stop when receiving from channel 5, and when completed transmit on channel 1. And then you'll want to copy and paste this device so that you have two of them. As you can see, the settings are completely identical. And now we will continue to the second part of the video where I explain how to create a movable gas can that can be stored in the inventory. First, take the gas can prop from the Frenzy Farm gallery. Here's how the prop looks like, and as I said, it can be found in the Frenzy Farm prop gallery at the very end. After you choose a place for the gas can, you'll want to take a button and place it next to it. The settings are the following. Interact time set to 1 second, trigger sound disabled, interaction text, pick up gas can, visible during games, no, interaction radius 0.5 meters, disable when receiving from channel 146, and when interacted, transmit on channel 146. Next, you'll want to place a mutator zone that covers the entire playable area. The first settings depend on your game mode. Allow weapon fire can be yes or no. Allow building can be yes or no. Zone visible during game, you should keep that no, as well as base visible during game. Zone width and zone depth and zone height should be kept at 100. Enable at game start set to no. Enable visual effects should be set to no. Allow editing can be yes or no. And now for the channels. Enable when receiving from channel 146. On player starts emoting, transmit on channel 150. On player stops emoting, transmit on channel 149. These are all the settings I changed. Now, the next part is very important. I placed a trigger in the sky so that the players can touch it, because they will break the mechanic. You will want to change the following settings. Times can trigger 1 time, trigger sound disabled, trigger visual effects disabled, visible in game no, trigger when receiving from channel 150, and when trigger transmit on channel 148. Then, place a timed objective device and apply the following settings. Time 1.5 minutes, timer label text fuel, hologram until activated no, visible during games no, urgency mode disabled, pausing team filter and resuming team filter are set to all so that the player can reuse the gas can. Audio effects, activation sound, deactivation sound, completion sound, timer sound are turned off. Start when receiving from channel 148, pause when receiving from channel 149, resume when receiving from channel 150, disable when receiving from channel 7, and when completed, transmit on channel 145. And these are all the settings. Now, place another timed objective and set the following settings. Time 1 second, time label text, fuel, hologram until activated, no, visible during games, no, countdown visible on HUD, no, completion behavior, restart, urgency mode disabled, audio effects, activation sound, deactivation sound, completion sound, and timer sound are turned off. Start when receiving from channel 150, stop when receiving from channel 149, enable when receiving from channel 146, disable when receiving from channel 145, and when completed transmit on channel 1. Now, make sure you copy and paste this device one time. Then, we will place a couple of triggers. First trigger, delay 1 second, trigger sound set to disabled, trigger visual effects disabled, visible in game no, trigger when receiving from channel 8 and when trigger transmit on channel 3. The second trigger will have the following settings. Delay 1 second, trigger sound disabled, trigger visual effects disabled, visible in game set to no, trigger when receiving from channel 149 and when trigger transmit on channel 8. And the third trigger, trigger sound disabled, trigger visual effects disabled, visible in game no, trigger when receiving from channel 149 and when trigger transmit on channel 2. And the fourth and last trigger will have trigger when receiving from channel 150 and when trigger transmit on channel 3. And as I previously said, please place the trigger outside the map or high in the sky so that the player can't touch the triggers while in the game because the mechanics will break. And with that, we've reached the end of the tutorial. I know this is a longer video than usual, but if you watch the full video, please consider liking the video and subscribing if you are not already. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.